and welcome. This is Kevin, also known as AWOL, and we are back with another one of the making it of the Blindside Creations. And we lost just a minute or so of footage of me setting up the strings, so kind of apologize for that. That was kind of a bummer, but yeah, it's still pretty early on. So this is another 16 strings bracelet. Just like yesterday, we did 16, but this time it's doubled up. So we kind of talked about that yesterday about how if you double it up, you don't get as many knots from top to bottom. Well, this pattern really kind of didn't need it. And speaking of this pattern, this is number 31966 over on Bracelet Book. So it's it looks kind of simple. It takes a little bit. There's a little bit of zigzagging going on to kind of get colors to bounce around where you need them. Um, it's not a super difficult bracelet by any stretch. It's not a beginner's, but it's not advanced either. Um, so yeah, it's a happy sort of intermediate one. Um, And we have only sped this up like the three times, like the normal stuff. And it's, how long is this video? It's like 20 some odd minutes. So it kind of went by fairly quick. I mean, it's okay. So it's not as quick as a 12 string bracelet, obviously, right? It's more strings, more knots. Um, but overall, that's not bad. Like we've had some 12 strings that actually took long. The Panda one probably took longer, right? I'm not sure. I don't really memorize these things, but I'm gonna guess that the Panda one early this week, that one probably took longer than this. Because this has got some nice long straight rows and some pretty easy going things. Like this goes three and then has a gap and then goes three more. And it's it's not too bad. It's not too bad at all. And again, because it's doubled up, fewer knots, right? So I could kind of maybe see doing this in the thin just because a more delicate look for it would be kind of cute. Um, at the same time, it's sort of, I don't know. I have it in my hand. If you're wondering why I'm looking down it, I have it in my hand. I'm trying to find words to describe it, and I've got nothing. There's no. At first, I was kind of like, maybe is it sort of supposed to be like snowflakes or something? And it's not really that. It's just like X's going down the middle and something different on the outsides. Um, I don't. I imagine it would look kind of okay if you doubled it. I suppose that might be a kind of an interesting look. I was trying to picture like, would you make a bag out of this? And I honestly, I won't. Um, but not that you couldn't. I guess doubling it could be interesting if that's your sort of thing. Maybe go with some more like Native American kind of Indian colors for it, perhaps. That might kind of give it a more of a look. I don't know. I don't know. I was just I think I kind of went off the colors that were already in the pattern itself and then kind of maybe have changed them up just a bit, like maybe not as dark of a green, or maybe, the blue is sort of, I went with the lighter blue because I thought that a darker blue would kind of get lost against this really dark gray. So I went with the lighter blue so that way it would stand out a little bit more, which I think was a good call. I mean, you know, I do think that was a good call. So this one, I did sort of run into like you know, working in a certain kind of uh, methodology sort of thing. But occasionally I would leave off the one knot at the end, it would kind of come down like the white comes down, and then there's like one of the grays sort of, you know, is at the very end, and I would kind of forget to do that and have to go back to it later, like this knot right there. Um, and sort of forget it later on, and you know, I'm ready to do the long row and like, oh wait, I can't because I forgot the other, that there's a thing at the end. That happens to me a few times. Um, but other than that, I mean, it was pretty smooth sailing. It was pretty straightforward. Like, watch, you'll see, like, at some point in here, it suddenly dawns on me, like, oh, that's a thing. Yep, there it is. Yeah. So, yeah. So I didn't do the math to find out how many actual hours this thing took. Um, I should have done that. That would have been interesting, right? Come with the facts of the whole thing. I have no idea. I just work here. Like, I don't know. Um, but yeah, it's a cool bracelet. It's a fun design, and it's obviously it's not my normal go-to kind of things. That's what kind of makes these whole blindsided creations sort of fun, is the whole idea of subjecting me patterns that I probably would never have done and see what I can make out of them. And in this case, I don't think I did a lot to alter it. I just figured out what would make for a good center and then ran that in both directions, you know, essentially. Um, and then worked out, you know, what the strings have to do. And yeah, and I use my own pattern. Like I did have to look, not as much as say the panda, but I had to keep looking at the pattern and make sure that I was doing things right and getting it, you know, not making mistakes here. Like how this gray boxes in. Once I see that just nothing crosses over it, it's pretty easy. I can go ahead and do that row, and that kind of, maybe I look to see, okay, what happens next. Okay, it's the green does that thing again, and you know, but um, yeah, it was nothing like that red. That red panda has scarred me. If you can't tell, like that's in my head now. Like that was wow. And then it stopped. Why did it stop? Maybe a tangled string. I don't know what that was. That was funny. I know there's a few times where I have to like shift the pattern up to make sure I'm on track and make sure that I, I'm where I'm supposed to be. There was a few times of that. Um, could have been just stopping an ad. I don't know. It seems like a long time though. Like that was a long pause. I wonder what that was. It has been suggested that I do these videos at speed. I can't imagine that I have that much to talk about for that long. Like, I mean, I could talk obviously while I was making it. It's harder though when I'm in a live stream. There's people bring up subjects, and then it's like, oh, I remember a thing, and you know, just let the ADHD run crazy, and I can talk sort of endlessly. But um, sitting here by myself, um, possibly because of the medications help me to stay focused. Like I don't have that internal crazy rambling thing quite as bad as perhaps I used to. Is that a vote for getting me off the meds? I don't. I'm so much more productive with them. I can't imagine it. There was a little duration there. I don't know if you remember a few weeks back with the whole heart scare and stuff, and I had to be off my meds for a little while. And at first I thought it was just going to be like I'd be groggy or something. And then once I tried to do it like without the meds, I realized like, wow, I really don't focus well on my own. Like it's really a problem. So yeah, I'm kind of glad to be back on them again. Yeah, you can see like the black one on the right side. I didn't do that. I got it on the left. I had to go back to the right to get it because like, oh yeah, I missed. So, yep. Like I said, it happened a couple times in here. I remember that was a thing that was bothering me. So yeah. Yeah, I'd be interested if anybody has a good title of what this bracelet is. Like some bracelets have like, you know, it's a snowflake or it's a chevron or it's whatever. What is this other than X's? It's got a lot of X's in it. I don't. It's interesting. And it's essentially it's four colors, right? You got the blue, green, white, and gray. It's just a lot more of the gray. So that's kind of cool in its own way. And you can see like I methodically kind of go through and like get the little dot, bring the thing down, make the rest of the X, you know, get the whole area with the blue taken care of so that way I can bring down the grays to box it in. Um, it's all basically me working out what needs to go to make it just kind of go as quickly as possible to get the longer pieces in one swoop. And that's possibly why it went as quickly as it did. Because yeah. Well, if it's 20 minutes, if it was three times that, that's an hour, right? So maybe the whole thing took an actual hour. If the speeding it up is legitimately like three times, then yeah, it was only an hour. So that's not bad for 16 strings. That's awesome. Especially with what the thin one was like 2.5 hours. Yeah, that can't be. Can it be right? I don't know. Oh, I'm sorry. Inner dialogue went totally crazy there, trying to figure out like if there was a way that I could actually figure this out, and I don't have the answers now. Now that I've sped it up and put all the pieces together, I don't have the the chunks to just go adding them up. So I don't know where I am. I think we just passed the halfway point, if I'm not mistaken. So curious, what do you guys watch when you guys are making bracelets? Is it stuff like this? Or do you have like music videos or what do you guys watch? I had somebody suggest um some music for me to try to make bracelets to, and it was um Viking Viking music. And I have to admit that stuff, I don't know, that stuff, it was the way that the drum just sort of drummed on. I don't know how to describe it, but like it got my anxiety levels like way up there. Like I was I have this thing like where my leg vibrates. Like that's an ADHD thing for sure, right? Where your knee is just going up and down like a piston. That music was driving the piston into extra overdrive kind of thing. It was absolutely insane. And I was just like, at some point, like, I gotta stop this. This is, my heart rate's gonna go through the roof here, and I don't know, like, um, so yeah, that one's not for me. But I'd be curious as to what you guys are into and which ones you guys find calming and motivating, and maybe I'll try some other stuff here, kind of work off your guys' suggestions. But yeah, I was willing to try it. I mean, I gave it a shot, see what it was like. Didn't do it. Didn't do it again. I suppose. I mean, okay, so it did say that it was like workout music, and part of me is like thinking maybe I could go back and listen to it like when I'm on the exercise bike and see if it like drives me to push the pedals harder and see how that goes. That might be it might be good for that. Um, but it was I find to me making bracelets is an act of doing something to calm me and um turning it into the opposite of that um that was not good. So yeah, kind of a thing. Yeah, I just thought it was Rainbow Haze Shop who had suggested it. So she's gonna probably watch this and be like, it was me. Like, yes, it was you. You're right. It was you. And yeah, we'll probably give it a try on the bike. I don't know. So I'm not sure where we are in this. This is probably the fourth X, maybe. Yeah. So now's as good a time as any. Let me thank my Patreon supporters who make all these videos possible. Um, Obviously, I'm not monetized on YouTube yet, and I don't make as much as I need to be able to afford cameras and microphones and that kind of stuff from the bracelets that I sell. So yeah, thank you to my Patreon people for making this stuff possible. It's really is my dream to kind of share the passion of making bracelets with the world, and these videos will outlive me, I hope. So years from now, I'm imagining kids picking up the art and trying new fun stuff because they see this. So that's my hopes. So, and if you watch this far in, maybe hit that like button, it would help the channel kind of tells Google to show more people the videos. That would be awesome. Oh, and if you haven't, subscribe. Definitely subscribe. We're we're really kind of getting the number up there and I love it. Um, but of course, as it keeps going up, it's I think that's awesome. So yeah, please do subscribe. So I think we're heading towards the end here. I know it ends with like, the majority of the diamond. It doesn't quite go out to the greens don't come back down again. Um, it I could have maybe added a couple rows just so that way that could have happened. But definitely there was some strings getting short, especially the green was getting kind of on the shorter end of it. And that it always worries me. Like I have had bracelets where a color runs out and yeah, that's like a huge source of anxiety for me. So yeah, but it worked out. I mean, I do cut my strings long in case you're going to make this yourself. Um, I cut it to 1/3 of a skein. So, and that worked out fine. I probably wouldn't have tried for anything shorter. Some of the grays were shorter than others. Mind you, I could have switched things around and worked out which ones are what's the longest and swapped around and done things, but I didn't. Um, Mostly because I know that I'm recording, right? Like I have to, if I stop every time and compare the lengths of strings, there'd be gaps all over the place in the video. So yeah, I kind of figured I probably didn't need to, so I didn't. There you go. See, kept happening. That last little knot thing drive me insane. Mind you, by doing those last little ones there, um, like the white is no longer in use. Like that's off to the side. That's done with. And like when the gray comes down, it's done with. And it's just a matter of running out this last little bit of the diamond, um, which might seem like it goes a little faster because I am pretty excited that I'm almost to the end. Yeah, way cool. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy the video. I have fun making them. And I know that these ones here take a little bit more time, but I think they're kind of fun, the making of them videos. So yeah, if you haven't noticed, there's already a whole big playlist of these. So go check that out. That'd be awesome. I don't know how many, I wonder how many we're up to. I should look that up maybe for the next video. I still have another video to make tomorrow of making a bracelet, so maybe I can look that up later. And here we come. We're coming to the very end of it. So again, thank you guys for sticking around this long. I really do appreciate it. It helps out the channel a lot. And yeah, as always, don't get your strings in a bunch.